And the way they did this, they had a pre-test. Sorry about this. Is the only one I have. Somebody stole all of our things. They had a pre-test where everybody in this study shot 100 foul shots. Okay? Group 1, 100 foul shots. Group 2, 100 foul shots. They shot 100, and they wrote down how many each person made. So let's say that David's up there and he's shooting and he makes about 97, probably what he could do. I get up there and I could make 14, probably. But they averaged the whole group and they got a number, and it was pretty close. All 4 groups got the same average on the pretest. Okay, we got that so far? Does that make sense so far? Then they applied the experimental variable. The first group, they didn't do anything. So, actually, they're group 4. The first group, they practiced foul shooting 30 minutes per day. So in other words, to picture this, so David's at the foul line and somebody's rebounding him for 30 minutes. He's practicing foul shots, okay, trying to make as many as he can, but just getting, okay, I'm shooting foul shots, rebound, shoot foul shots, okay, that's how it looked. The second group, they were told to practice 15 minutes, and the other 15 minutes they were told to just visualize. So visualize for 15 minutes. So and what that would look like is they would close their eyes and they would see themselves standing at a foul line, shooting foul shots and making them. Okay, does that make sense? So 15 minutes of actually holding the ball, releasing it, rebounding, getting it, somebody's rebounding for them. And then the other 15 minutes of, okay, I'm seeing myself in my mind's eye, shooting, there it goes in, somebody rebounds. So it's all picturing it, okay? The third group, there was no practicing, but 30 minutes of visualization. Okay, so in other words, they never touched a ball during that whole time, but they did visualize it happening. Okay, the fourth group, they didn't do anything. They were the control group, so no shooting and no visualizing. I don't know how you totally don't ever. They just told them don't do anything associated with basketball for this period of time. I think it was about 6 weeks. And then afterwards, after it was over, they had each group shoot 100 foul shots. So same as the pre-test, the post-test. So the post-test, and they wanted to see if there was a difference between the pre and the post as well as between groups. If there was a difference between this group and this group and this group and this group. And here's what they found. At least for the pre and the post, every one of the groups improved except this group. This group, actually, their score was less the second time than the first. Okay? Not very much, but it was enough for them to report it. Now, which group do you think improved the most?
Group 3. I think it's group 3.
You think group 3, they never touched the ball one time?
Yeah. That's why I think that it's group 3. I think that's why it's so crazy.
They never failed.
Okay, hold on to that idea. This actually was number 1.
Oh, man.
The group that both practiced and shot. This group, you're correctly saying, was number 2, and this group was number 3. And it was enough of a difference that it was worth reporting that the ones that this group did better than this. Now, how is it possible that the group that never touched the basketball did better than the group that totally did? How is that? Why does that make no... To me, first, when I first heard this, I went, that's not logical at all. You've got to get the feel of the basketball, the feel of the ball in your hand, the weight, the trajectory of the shot. You know, you have to get a sense of that, and you never touch it during this. Well, how could we explain that? What is the explanation?
You were saying there is no difference between imagining and actually experiencing in your brain. So they're just imagining how to do it.
And you said before, what were they imagining?
Not failing.
Right. They were imagining successfully shooting. When you're shooting, did you hit it every time? David might. Taiwan might. The rest of us, probably not. Okay? So what happens when you notice that you're being successful in something?
It makes you more successful.
More successful. You feel more confident, right? Oh, yeah, okay, I shot that. I can do that again. Shoot it. And then when it comes to the so-called actually doing it, you take that confidence into there and, okay, you keep doing it. Does that make sense? Is that interesting? I want to try this little experiment. Susan, would you mind? Can you shut that door, please? I want you to take everything that's in front of you and just move it off to the side, and then sit in your chairs so that you can put both hands on the table in front of you. So there's nothing directly in front of you. So you're going to need a little right in front of you space. So if you went like this, you're not going to hit anything. Now, we're going to go through a little tiny closed eye process. You're going to close your eyes with this. Don't peek, don't open your eyes. I'm not going to do anything weird to anyone. But I want you to just be as playful and carefree with this as you can. Don't take this seriously. Okay? I'd like you all to sit up so that your butts are in the back of your seats, so your hands are on the table in front of you. Okay? Now, here's what I like you to do. I like to close your eyes. Keep them closed, and you're all experts at that. Now, what I would like you to do for just a moment is I would like you to imagine that there is a big, ripe, yellow lemon sitting on the table in front of you. It's, you know, a little bit bigger than a baseball. And if you look down at it, you notice that it's remarkably yellow. And you might even put your hands down for a second on it and just kind of wobble it. If you push down on it on one side, you notice that it wobbles, and then you let go and it stops wobbling. And do that for just a minute or two, or a second or two. Just kind of get a feel for this lemon, this yellow lemon on the brown table in front of you. And then go ahead and just kind of pick it up. Just pick it up with one hand. Pick up the lemon in one hand and maybe kind of toss it from one hand to the other. Get a feel for this yellow lemon, and take both hands and just kind of feel how it's bumpy. It's both very smooth and it also is bumpy, and just kind of sense that and notice how on both ends of this lemon are little knobs, and you kind of think to yourself, well, that must be how it hooked to the tree. And you can see how you can kind of sense the weight of it as you hold it in one hand, and so just kind of tune into this yellow lemon and contrast it to the brown table in front of you. So I'd like you to put the lemon down. Just let it, and notice how it wobbles just a little bit and comes to being still. And so now what I'd like you to notice is there is suddenly in front of you, next to the lemon, a very sharp knife. It's a really, really sharp knife. And what I would like you to do is just carefully grab the knife, not on the sharp end, but on the handle. Just grab the knife, and with your dominant hand, I want you to hold the knife, and with your other hand, I want you to just secure the lemon. So I'd like you to just secure the lemon, and I want you to just cut the lemon in half, just carefully cutting the lemon in half. And notice as you cut, it's exploding with juice. This is the ripest lemon of all time. And be careful, because you don't want any of that juice to get in your eyes. And just carefully cut through it, and you notice as you cut that it separates in two, and the two pieces wobble, and you let go of it, and now you're just holding the lemon, or excuse me, the knife, and the two halves of the lemon are in front of you. You can see the juice just oozing out, and you can see the different colors of yellow, the inside compared to the outside. And as you look at it, you also notice that there's little compartments inside the lemon. And so just kind of drop your knife for a second and pick up the lemon and just bring it up to your nose and just smell and take in the whiff of this lemon, and notice how very lemony this lemon is. Just really take another deep breath and notice how very lemon. You can feel the juice going down your hands because it's so juicy still. It's just unbelievably juicy. And so you put the lemon back down on the table. Just let it kind of wobble to a stop. And pick up the knife again. I'd like you to just take one of the halves of the lemon, and I'd like you to cut that in half again. And notice how the juice is just spitting all over the place. It's so lemony. Just cut it in half, and you notice that now you have a quarter of the lemon that is kind of wobbling and comes to a stop, and you've got the other quarter still in your hand. And now I'd like you to just put down the knife. Just put down the knife and kind of take that quarter of the lemon and just kind of look at it for a second. Have it in both hands, or just kind of sense it, but don't touch the juicy part because it's too juicy and you don't want all that juice running down your hands, because then you'll have to clean it. But you can smell the amazing smell of this lemon. And now what I'd like you to do is just bring it up and smell it again. Just take in and really tune into the smell of this lemon. It is just, it's almost sour just to smell. You can smell the sourness of it. And it's, you can see the yellows, and you can sense the size of it. And now what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to open your mouth, and I'd like you to put the inside of the lemon in your mouth and take a really big bite. Just take a big bite, and it's the most souring bite you've ever had. It's just exploding with flavor of sour in your mouth, but you like it, so you're okay with the sour, and so you take another big bite. Just take a huge bite, just clamp down, and the juice just explodes in your mouth. And now open your eyes. Okay, how many have saliva going right now? How many are like, can somebody let Mary Kay in now? How many have, raise your hands, how many have saliva going in your mouth? Now, why, physiologically speaking, why does saliva happen when you eat a lemon? Why does it naturally happen that we have saliva happening whenever we eat a lemon?
Too acidic.
Okay, it's to kind of offset the acidic nature of the lemon. It's also part of the digestive process, right? Okay, now, I'm looking around and I don't see a single lemon. There ain't one lemon in here. How many of you really felt like at one point or another that there was really something going on there? I mean, and some of you was like, whatever. Okay, next question. Has anyone in here ever been to a stage hypnotist? Wow, a lot of you. Has anyone ever gone up on the stage? 1, 2, 3, 4. The 4 of you. Okay, do you mind if I ask each of you some questions about that? Are you okay with me asking about it? Are you okay? You have too, Bobby? You've been? And Sarah, you have?
I have too.
You have? Okay. So, for the 4 or 5 of you, the 5 of you who went up, does anyone not know what I'm talking about when I say a stage hypnotist? We all know what that is. Okay. So, you see that go on. You see that where the person goes up there, and first of all, how did you get on the stage in the first? I mean, why was it that you were one of the 10 or 15 people or 20, however many, that got on the stage and everyone else in the stands in the audience didn't? Do you know? What did you do? Did you volunteer to go up?
Yeah, it happened at our senior party, and we just basically got to run up on stage and like fight for our chairs.
Oh, so you voluntarily went up?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember how you went up there? Same thing, Bobby? Same?
No, mine was they thought it would be funny. I was at the festival.
So somebody else brought you up there?
Yeah, like it was like kind of a senior thing too, and like everyone was raising their hands, and like people were like pointing at me.
Oh. You were forced to go up.
Kind of. I
Okay.
wanted to too. So.
Do you remember?
I volunteered.
You volunteered. Okay.
He had everybody in the audience do like a hypnosis drill, and he came through.
Meaning?
Like, I don't remember exactly
We had
that.
him go like this,
Yeah.
like how they're like this. And
We did
trying to,
something like this, and like your hands are glued together. You're trying to pull your hands apart, and he came through, and the people that he could tell were really into it. He
pulled you up. Right. That's how it was when I was in high school, and the times that I've seen it in college. The same kind of thing where, and he did it every year. It was I don't know if it's the same guy, but one year he said, okay, he had everyone going like, okay, your hands are stuck together and there's glue, and he was kind of talking how I was doing with that lemon thing, and he says, okay, now try. You can't possibly separate your hands, and I went. But there were other people who he said, okay, the girl next to me went, I can't get my hands apart. And she said, okay, you're coming up here, right? And that's how it frequently happens, unless you volunteer, which is the other way. Now, when you were up on the stage, the 5 of you, 6 or whatever, did you do anything that you probably wouldn't normally do on a stage in front of a group of people?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like what?
We like played butt drums to wind.
Butt drums?
Yeah, you like
Like-
turned around and you like slapped your bum, and like you were into it. Like it was like you're a legit rock star drummer.
On your rear end?
But like everyone could see you. Like you weren't facing like this way. Like they saw your behind, and it was
So that's one thing you remember?
yeah.
What do you remember?
Yeah, I sing.
You sang.
All-star.
What did you sing?
I don't even remember.
You don't remember? But you know you did?
Well, they told me after.
Oh, you don't remember it. You don't remember. Do you remember anything that you did? But you know you did stuff.
I've
Okay.
seen one before, and I know what they used to do.
Do you remember what you did, Bobby?
No, I wasn't really hypnotist.
So you were just up there for, okay, and
Well, I was trying, but it just didn't. Kind of like it was just like.
whatever. Okay, so, okay.
Well, I was getting hypnotized. He was like doing the temperature thing where it was getting really cold and everyone was shivering and it was getting really warm. And then he said sleep, and the girl next to me took me out and I snapped out of it.
She knocked you in.
Oh yeah, she was
Boom.
like on my lap and I was like,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, so you were out of the hypnotic state,
Yeah.
so-called, and you're just kind of whatever now. Okay, and what?
He hypnotized me into being the world's greatest gibberish rapper.
Gibberish rapper.
All I could speak was gibberish.
Wow.
And that was wild.
How did that go for you?
I don't remember the actual event, but they videotaped it, so...
So you don't recall it, but you saw yourself?
Yeah, I've been blacked out. So
And when you saw that, did you go, There's no way I would
It's
normally
absurd,
do
man.
that.
It's absolutely absurd. Yeah.
Who's the other one? What, do you remember what you did?
I wasn't up there.
Oh, you didn't go up.
My experience being in the audience.
Who's the other one? Was that everyone? When I saw this, and every time I've seen this, it's the most hilarious evening of the year by far. When I've seen it done on college campuses, I saw it back east when I was in school, and when I was teaching back there, and every time I would make sure that I saw it, because there's nothing so hilarious as watching somebody make a fool of themselves without realizing it. But when I was in high school, and I saw this, and I was one of those who went, whatever. Or that one year they had us, like, one hand's a brick and the other hand's a helium balloon, and we see all these people going like, nothing. It was a crock. I thought, they're making it up, is what I was thinking. And I thought, and so I was in this class. It was called a marketing class. Pretty much it was just a bunch of us who wanted to be in this. It was a waste of a class. But anyway, we had this professor in the class. His name was Mr. Ward, and he was a hypnotherapist. He happened to be able to hypnotize people, and it was after that assembly when we got talking about this in class, and a few of us were like, that's a crock, they're making it up. Even though my best friends, people who I grew up with, and I saw them do things that there's no way that they would ever do, I still felt like they're probably acting. They're probably making it up. And so we started talking about it in class, and he happened to have been working with a couple students in the class hypnotherapeutically. Wow, that's a long word. Using hypnotherapy with them for some emotional issues they were dealing with. So he was using it for therapy. And he asked them if they would be willing to be part of a little experiment. And both of them, one's name was Paulina and the other's name was Judy. And they said, oh, sure, well, whatever. And so the first person, he said, okay, Paulina, would you mind doing this with me? Well, before that, let me go back a little. Imagine for a second, I don't have 2 chairs available, but he said, all right, I need the strongest person in the class. And there, immediately we all looked at Rick. Rick was, easily the strongest guy in the class. He was he was a fullback, and he was just a huge guy, not very bright, but he was an incredibly strong guy. And he said, all right, Rick, what we want you to do is we want you to put your heels on this chair and put your shoulders and head on this chair, suspended, in between, and we were going to time him to see how long he could stay like this, only horizontal. Can you see that?
So like planking.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, like planking, only without only on his back. Okay? But nothing in between. Takes a little bit of strength there. And so we timed him, so we got, all right, Rick, let's see it. And so we watched him do it, and he goes, all right. He was all tough. And he did it for 15 seconds, and he started to buckle. That's all he could do it, was 15 seconds. And then he said, all right, so Paulina, who happened to be the smallest girl in that particular class, she was just this tiny, she didn't even know where the weight room was. She was the smallest person. I'm sure she never did a single ab workout of any kind. And he said, can you be Paulina for a second? You don't have to do anything. But, so he said, Paulina, 1, 2, 3, and snapped his fingers, and Paulina immediately went, like, you see him do.
Is that easy?
Yeah. He just went 1, 2, 3, and he said, all right, Paulina, can you hear what I'm saying? Yes. Are you okay? Yes, I'm fine. And then, because she was conscious, but totally relaxed. And then he said, okay, when I count to 3 and snap my fingers, you will your body will become a steel beam. It will be impossible to bend your body. There's no way that your body can be bent. He kept saying that over and over to her. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yes. And so and then he said, okay, 1, 2, 3, snapped his fingers, and she just put her hands here, and she was just like this. And then a couple of us picked her up and put her there where Rick was. We started timing. She was there for a minute. And it was like a hole-in-one. It was the most miraculous thing. I couldn't believe that she could possibly do that, but she just stayed there. Didn't even flinch. Now, she was in pain for days afterwards. But in that moment, she was doing an absolutely impossible thing for Paulina to do. And I just went, holy cow. I couldn't believe it. And then she said to Paulina, so let's pretend, or Judy, if you be Judy for a second. And I knew Judy really well. She was a really close friend of mine, lived just around the corner from me. And she was one of these people who would never draw any attention to herself. She was quite quiet and just a calm person in general. And he said, all right, Judy, 1, 2, 3. And he snapped his fingers, and she again, she collapsed on the floor. And, are you okay, Judy? Yes. And then he said to her, okay, when I count to 3 and snap my fingers, when you open your eyes, you will notice that nobody has a body. All you will be able to see are heads. Okay? And do you understand what I'm saying? Yes. And so he said 1, 2, 3, snapped his fingers, and she opened her eyes and then she looked around. She started getting really just amazed. What the heck? And she went, Mr. Ward, what's wrong, Judy? I don't know. I don't see it. And so we all started getting up and walking. And she just freaked out. Her face went white as a sheet, and she ran behind this desk, and she was like, Mr. Ward, what's going on? What's wrong, Judy? I don't know, but nobody has a head. Nobody has a body. And then some kid started jumping on a table, and she was screaming at the top of her lungs. And people came down the hall. Is everything okay in here? And we all, yeah, it's fine. But and she didn't crack a smile or anything. I mean, there's no way that she, under normal situations, would have not, how do I say this? She would have given in. Yeah, she would have dropped the character, or however you say that. She wouldn't have pulled that off. And it was at that point when I said, something is going on in our minds that when you're under hypnosis, that I have to find out about. Because it was absolutely amazing that people were, and in your case, singing at the top. Would you ever normally do that? No, you wouldn't. What?
That's my sister's thing. I would never do that.
Yeah. And yet, you probably did it without thinking anything about it. You just barreled it out, I'm guessing. What's going on? So,
no fear. Acting like a child.
But how does that happen? How does that so immediately kick in that you're suddenly able to do unbelievable things or unusual, uncharacteristic things? And when I came upon a book, over the years I keep reading all these kinds of books, and there was one book I came upon that was called The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. There was another one by Maxwell Maltz that was called what is that book? You know which one I'm talking about, Corey? Do you know, Susan? The Psychocybernetics. Psychocybernetics. And both of them talked about the subconscious mind. And this is how they described this. And as soon as I understood this, I went, oh my goodness, we have an amazing thing going on for us that we never touch. And this is how he described this. It's kind of like this. Here's our conscious mind. So this is our conscious mind, this little circle. And we have this much larger mind, which we'll call our subconscious mind. So here's our conscious mind, subconscious mind, okay? Now, the way this works for us, this is so fascinating, the way this works for us is the conscious mind is kind of like, we could use a lot of metaphors, but there's one that seems to work here nicely, where the conscious mind is like the engineer in a coal-driven steam engine train. Okay, does everyone know what I'm talking about? You got the train, and the guy, the engineer in the front of the train, he's going, oh, okay, we got a hill coming up, and we're going to have to navigate ourselves to get up this hill. Now, he doesn't make the train go up the hill. Who does?
The engine.
Yeah, and there's a guy, so this is the engineer. The subconscious mind is the guy in the steam room. He's actually called the stoker. He's the guy who picks up the phone and he goes, oh, we need some more power? Okay. And he starts shoveling coal into the engine, right? He doesn't go, well, I don't think I feel like doing that right now. No, I'm not going to. He just, whatever the engineer says, he goes, oh, okay. Right? Now, the power of the train is not this guy. Again, the power of the train is this guy. We think it's this guy, but he's just directing the train. Now, here's what happens in hypnosis. Well, see, this guy, the stoker, he will do whatever he is told. It doesn't matter a bit if it's right or wrong, good or bad, moral or immoral. It doesn't make a bit of difference. It just does what the subconscious mind just does, whatever it's told. Okay, you got that? But it gets its messages from the conscious mind, which most of the time is wrong. You know, I'm going to have some problems coming up. The subconscious mind goes, oh, okay, I'll create some problems. Now, let me divert just a little bit. So what happens in hypnosis?
You skip past the conscious and you go straight to the subconscious.
Exactly, yeah. The conscious mind, unless you're Bobby or me, the conscious mind kind of shoots over here. You get really relaxed. You get into this hypnotic state, so-called, and that's not what we think it is. But the conscious mind moves over here, and then you have the hypnotist.
Running the show.
The hypnotist, he's talking directly to the subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind says, okay, whatever you tell me to do, and I start singing. Or I hold myself like this. Or I do anything. I've seen people who, under hypnosis, totally, that would never do it under normal circumstances, completely disrobe.
Disrobe?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Take their clothes off.
Get on your birthday.
And what he did is he said to the person, to the subconscious mind, okay, it's really, really hot right now, and you're at the beach. There's nobody else around. So it's believing whatever it's told. There's nobody else around, and you're hot. So go ahead and take some of that clothes off because you want to be a little cooler. And okay, only it's okay. The subconscious mind does whatever it's told to do. How many in here, this is kind of going off to the side a little, how many in here are bad at math?
Hello.
How many in here knew at 3 years old that you were bad at math?
That is a lie. You weren't thinking about math when you were 3. There's no way.
At some point, you decided that you're bad at math, and since you kept saying it over and over again, your subconscious mind went, oh, okay, I'm going to be bad at math. How many in here are shy? You're not going to admit it. Too shy. Is there such a thing as shy genes? No. At some point, nobody is by nature shy. And so you're going, you should see me. I am. But no, at some point you have decided, you have let your conscious mind, which is the director, take you in that shy direction, and your subconscious mind does whatever it's told. And if your dominant thought is I'm shy, if you say it over and over and over, your subconscious mind goes, okay, we will make shy choices now, because that's what you're telling me to do. Does that make sense? You totally create your experience by your dominant thoughts that end up in your subconscious mind that is your reality, that creates your reality. Of that, I'm absolutely certain. Now, we go into that in a lot more depth in the other class. But in this class, what does this have to do with stress?
We've told ourselves to be stressed
Okay,
in certain situations.
okay, be a little more specific. What do you mean?
Like, I have homework, but I have too much stuff going on, so I'm just going to zone out and not do any of it, and then it makes more stress.
Okay. How does that relate to this?
You've told yourself that it's stressful instead of it's, not going to be bad. I finished my homework, I'm going to be fine. But instead you're like, oh, homework. So
Okay.
homework's become the stressor.
Your dominant thoughts, really get this down in your heads. Your dominant thoughts create your reality. And if your dominant thought is, I hate this, if your dominant thought is, bad things are going to happen, your subconscious mind doesn't know good or bad, right or wrong, evil or, what's the opposite? Good. It does not know. It just, whatever you consistently tell it, it's going to go, oh, okay. So if you're telling me bad things are going to happen, then I will create a physiology that goes along with bad things happening.
So then can you prevent yourself from getting sick?
Say that again?
Can you prevent yourself from getting sick?
Absolutely.
I'll give you my own experience. My short answer is yes. My own experience, and there's obviously exceptions, but one of my dominant thought is, for sickness, is I consistently tell myself I'm the healthiest person I know. I don't know if that's true or not, but I tell myself that all the time. I say I'm the healthy. When everyone's getting the flu, even in my own house, and we don't get the flu very much in our house, but when everyone around us is going off getting these silly vaccines and getting the flu, I just keep telling myself, bless you, I'm the healthiest person I know, and in 22 years, really, in 22 years, I've been sick 3 times. where I couldn't function normally. Now, I don't know if I happen to have good genes. I don't think I do, because it doesn't show up that way.
You have great genes.
How do you know?
They're not
Because
G's.
you can say that you did it.
I can't do anything about that part. But I can say I'm a very healthy person. And how many of you know people who really quickly can make themselves sick? Oh yeah, it's easy. Oh, I know I'm sick. I know I'm sick. And your subconscious mind goes, okay, whatever you ask for, here comes the sick. Or stressed, or worried, or jealous, or whatever emotion we have, our subconscious mind is always listening. This is not small stuff.
Is it like when you call into work sick, like, oh, I feel so bad right now, can't come in, and then you actually turn up being sick a few minutes later?
Take a 6 day and
Has
actually
anyone
get
ever
sick.
done that?
So how,
Nobody does that.
so then how can you apply that to something practical?
Say that again?
So how do we apply that to something practical, like studying for a test or doing well in school?
So I would say, it has to do with our self-talk, and this is kind of down the road a bit in the other class, but whatever you consistently say to yourself, so if I were struggling in school, the first thing I would say to myself if I wanted my subconscious mind in the act is I would say, I can handle this. And I would say it every single day, every moment that a doubtful thought comes into my mind, I would say, I can handle this. This is easy for me. And at first it might seem like a lie. But I can't do that. But as you say it more and more and more, your subconscious will go, okay, whatever you're telling me, I don't know anything about the reality of math, but I'm going to make it so you can learn it. Because you're telling me you can. Or shy, or, any emotion.
I was talking to a coworker about this the other day because we're both married and we both have kids. And we talk about our husbands, and she's always saying, my husband's emotionally retarded, he's such an idiot, he doesn't do this, he doesn't do that.
That's brutal. Yeah. Cow.
And mine's like the opposite. I'm like, oh, my husband's the best. I love him. He always does things without being asked. He's a great dad. And then when we have other conversations, we'll talk about the things they do. They do the exact same things. Like, he always leaves his laundry on the floor. He always leaves the lights on, Like, I complain about the exact same things that she complains about, but she constantly thinks about things that he falls short on, and I always think, I'm so glad my husband doesn't act like that. He doesn't do this. I'm glad that he does do this, and that's what I focus on. And it's like our marriages are totally different because of it, even though we complain about the same thing.
Yes. And your dominant thoughts, get this. Your dominant thoughts are what will expand. And if her dominant thought is, he's just he's a jerk of a guy, and she keeps thinking that will continue to be her experience. That is why I love that levels of responding chart. Back then when we had the resistance, the below the line, and then gratitude, discovery, acceptance, whatever you focus on, you will have more of. Really. I mean, we wonder why we have such sucky lives. We wonder why things don't work out for us. We wonder why we're never happy. It amazes me how unhappy people want to be. And all we have to do is change this power in us to create better experiences. We do that by changing our dominant thoughts. We do that by a few other ways. But that is one of the most powerful things we can do. Whenever you have a thought about anything that is not what you want, you can change that thought and keep saying it over and over again. Your subconscious mind, which is your power, will go, okay, I guess I am confident and courageous. Okay, I am confident and courageous. And pretty soon you'll find yourself doing things that are courageous and confident instead of shy and bashful. It's the coolest thing. Now, What does this have to do, again, with stress? We'll come back to this part. What does this have to do with stress?
It just makes me think like you don't have to have any of it. Like you don't have to let like that affect you. Like no stress that comes up in your life. Well, you don't have to let that bug you or do anything.
You got a choice about it,
Like,
is what you're
so
saying.
Much choice. Like you.
Yeah.
And then you can like change it too. Like you can just, I don't know, like that's just how I keep thinking is like you can change your stresses into positive things. Like every challenge that you're faced throughout the rest of your life, you can sit there and just be like, okay, so you can take this way or that way and acknowledge it and then be like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Like you like are bringing that to your conscious level so your subconscious can like remove those stresses or improve on them.
Good. Beautiful. Very well said. Thank you. That's terrific.
I don't know why this happened though, but like every morning I wake up, like every morning it just feel like I can't have a bad day. I just feel.
So in your head, you feel like today's going to be a good day.
I mean, yeah.
You say that to yourself.
I like when it rains too.
I like it all.
Where I'm from, I like when it rains, but I just feel like I just can't have a bad day.
And he's no more right than the person who says, how many of you have said, this happened to me this morning. I woke up and I went, my head is so magnetized to this pillow. I just love the feel of my head on the pillow, and I cannot get my head up. It was an hour after my alarm went off when I decided my head didn't want to be magnetized, and all I said to myself was, I love laying on this pillow more than I love getting out, so I'm just going to stay here for a while. Right? Taiwan has decided in his head today, and most days I'll bet for him are pretty good, because he's decided that's how things are for him. It's really that easy. Now, here's one more thing that I want to play with in relation to stress that I think is just so cool. We did the lemon experiment. No lemons, yet many of you had saliva going, right? Well, one of the techniques, and we're not going to have time to do this, but you will get to do this on your own. One of the techniques, or one of the ways that we can immediately affect the subconscious mind is by the pictures we put in our head. We can do it by our dominant thoughts, and most powerfully by the pictures that we put in our head. Now, what does that mean? When we are thinking about a place or some situation, when we put on our mental screen something where there is no threat, our body, remember the MIT study, doesn't know if we think about it or we're actually experiencing it. It's the same to our brain. So, if we put ourselves on a beach, and you like the beach, in your mind, if you put yourself there and you experience it in your mind's eye, on your mental screen, your body thinks you're there. And it will create the physiology that goes with you being on the beach. If you love being in the mountains, and you picture yourself in your mind in the mountains. We do this all the time, daydreaming. I think it's a very natural thing. But when we picture ourselves in the mountains and we get as many senses involved, we can be very mindful in our minds, in our mind's eye. So we picture ourselves, we sense the wind, gently ruffling through the trees and gently blowing against our face, and the warm sun, and we picture all of these things. We imagine it. Our body doesn't know the difference, so it goes, oh, you must be at the beach, or you must be in the mountains right now. Okay, when we're in the mountains and we're safe, then this is how I am. We get relaxation. It's the same exact thing as when you worry about something and find yourself stressing out about it. It's the same thing, only we're trying to create the positive one that will result in the physiology that's not stressed. Does that make sense to everyone? So the way we do this, the most powerful way that we can do this is what we call guided imagery, where, and we've set up some actual exercises that you'll do, that when you do it, you'll be essentially being hypnotized. I mean, that's essentially it. All of these exercises, you're pretty close to the same hypnotic state as the hypnotist. It's pretty darn close. And then by suggesting to your mind, instead of somebody else doing it, you creating that suggestion, you're just doing the same thing, creating this, turning on this master power that is going to create relaxation. It's so cool. When I first learned this, I instantly fell in love with it because I thought, wow, I have another tool that whenever I'm stressed, I can just think, and I've got places where I go in my mind, and I know as soon as I'm there, my body knows, okay, we're good, we're relaxed, we're comfortable, we're confident, we feel good here. You have that power. So your assignment by before we meet on Tuesday, is to do, I want you to do the relaxation exercise on the DVD, CD, the MP3s, that is called Mountain Lake Guided Imagery. Now, pay attention to this, it's really important. If you find yourself going down an escalator, you're doing the wrong one. That we'll do later on. I want you, be sure it's the one that it's not the one where you're out in the woods and you're, what's the right way to say this? Just make sure you do the one that says Mountain Lake. There's 4 of them on there. If you've got the CD, there's 3 on the DVD. Don't do any of them except the one, because somebody always does the wrong one. I want to emphasize, don't do the wrong one. Do the one that says Mountain Lake. Do it 3 times. Submit it the same way before we meet next Tuesday. Have a great week. Remember, your fear assignment is due when?